Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Podcast, episode 79. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And we're recording early again this week because I just returned from vacation.
Welcome back.
So, this week's episode is one that we hinted at a couple weeks ago on the Q&A episode, was a topic we couldn't talk about that was coming up, which is GW's other games, specifically all the skirmish games.
Yeah, those things.
So, I just got back from vacation. I took my wife to GenCon. We had a great time, for the most part, and I got to play several other GW games for the first time, talk to some people who worked at GW in the organized play stuff, all that type of fun, and I even got to get an interview with the community manager from OwlCat who is making the Rogue Trader CRPG, all sorts of fun. So this episode expanded in scope, and now I think I'm kind of just going to walk you through my experience at GenCon, which involves all of the first time playing these games.
Sounds good. Okay, so you got in your car and got the fuck out of Detroit. Good start.
Yeah, and I went to Indianapolis, and it's actually a really nice looking town. There was a bunch of cool stuff there.
I've actually never been there. I've driven through and around the area, but I've never stayed there, so.
It was shockingly empty. So Detroit's full of crackheads, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't get accosted every 20 feet by homeless people in Indianapolis. But at the same time, there was no cars on any road, and we walked around the city pretty far. We didn't just stay at the GenCon hotel.
Yeah, even in Detroit, if you stay at whatever Kobo's called now, and that Renaissance Center area, you're in the heart, and yeah, there's not quite as much, but there's still a bunch of traffic, and so it's either good or it's worrying.
I don't know. It was just a weird thing I thought while we were walking down the street constantly, where I'm like, where is everybody? It's full of nerds temporarily due to GenCon, but
Right. There's thousands of people there because of GenCon, but there's usually normal people that live in cities.
Yeah, and it was just a blank slate for the most part.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that was fun. Got to GenCon. It was definitely one of the conventions of all time I've been to.
Wow. Huge endorsement right there.
Yeah, not my jam. We'll get into later my opinions on GenCon as a whole.
Well, because you usually go to Dragon Con or...
No, Dragon Con's down in Atlanta. That's the worst con I've ever been to.
What's the other one in Canada?
That's YetiCon. That's a micro convention. That's a Nerds Go Takeover resort.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you basically went to GenCon instead of that. Do you regret it?
No, because the wife wanted to do this, and it was a let's go see what it's like, because then we have it checked off our bucket list.
At least do it once and see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Gen Con wasn't awful.
You say that now, give it 2 more days, and we'll see if you've got the, Con Crud or whatever it's called.
Con cough.
Con cough, yeah.
But that's not the main issue. To put it this way for you, I prefer Youmacon.
Yeah.
Which, for people familiar, is an insult to Gen Con.
Oh, I mean, yeah, from an outsider's perspective, I imagine you're sounding very insane.
But that gets into what I get out of cons and the things I enjoy most. When we go to Youmacon, what's one of your favorite things about Youmacon?
Pegasus.
Okay, other than good local foods, which Indianapolis also had.
Just walking around the merch.
Yeah, okay. I was kind of hoping you were going to get into people cosplaying and stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm there for.
It's something I enjoy a lot, is seeing all the crazy costumes and stuff, and watching people nerd out.
Yeah.
That's not a thing at Gen Con. It's like Comic-Con, where it's a consumer convention. It's literally people going there to buy shit and leave.
Oh, so the only cosplayers are ones that are working.
There's a few scattered around, but I noticed on the very last day of the con, there was a lady helping her kid who was dressed up with his costume, and it clicked with me that he's the 4th person in a non-furry costume that I have seen. And I'm it's so weird how little there is in the way of cosplay in general, nerd culture stuff that I assume is at every convention. And then I thought about it, and I'm most people are here to buy the special FOMO super deluxe only at this convention edition.
Right. The Disney...
Go to Gavin's conference and get the super special exclusive promo card for going there, and I didn't even know.
Secret lair, woohoo.
That's a real thing, by the way, which I don't know if you were aware of. I didn't know it was a thing until afterwards, and I was like, of course it was.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures or whatever, like, this is number, and I was like, that's fucking bullshit.
But that's my general, like, Gen Con was an experience.
I feel like I would appreciate the cosplay more, because I really haven't been to that many conventions. So, like, if I went to Gen Con and I saw the lack of that type of, dress-up costume type stuff, it would be like, it would feel weird. Because it's actually pretty common at Youmacon.
It's real common at anime and video game conventions. Like,
I mean, I do actually look forward to the Marine Power Armor, Halo Spartan. Like, those are always fun to see them walking around.
That is important and not a tangent, for those of you wondering why this is in the final cut of the episode. Because it kind of paints the experience I had going into trying out these games and may color my experience playing them.
That's fair.
I just don't want a pipe bomb from the kill team players when we get to that part.
Ah, fuck them. There's like 6 of them.
I will say, when we were showing up on that first day in like the big walk in the doors area, they had this big taped off section where they were folding magic cards and Uno cards and other crap and turning them into like towers and stuff.
That looks pretty fun.
And I was like, this is a great use for crappy old Magic commons you have, or, like any bulk cardboard.
Especially Magic cards. If you got some from like 2005 until now, you can have some really wicked circles.
Great Pringles.
So it's not just a bunch of squares, really flex your architecture.
But I unironically, when I took pictures of this, was like, this is a great idea. The next time we're talking about budget terrain ideas of, I wonder if you could just fold a bunch of Magic cards into halfway decent looking terrain after some primer.
I mean, you absolutely could. Also, like, kind of jealous. This looks fun. Just like wasting 6 hours acting like a kid again, essentially.
Yeah. So there was some cool stuff at Gen Con. It's not all negative. It's just I have conventions I have enjoyed more. So anyway, we did go into Gen Con on day one, and day one actually did not involve any Warhammer. Well, not playing it. There was a ton of Warhammer being sold.
So, how's the Gen Con? Is that Thursday through Sunday, or is it?
Yeah, Thursday through Sunday. But we didn't go Sunday, we went home. We went down on Wednesday and then we're there Thursday morning when everything opened, blah, blah, blah. Stayed through Saturday.
I don't know if Gen Con's any different, but most places are winding down on Sundays.
So, I actually had the thought Sunday when we were leaving, when you're at a Magic convention, which is closer to what Gen Con is.
Yeah.
Last minute is the best time to buy stuff because vendors don't want to take it home. Do you remember all those tubes we got?
I felt bad at a certain point. I was like, what the fuck are we going to use all these for? But like,
we filled them.
Yeah. I guess we're taking all of it for basically nothing. Thank you.
But yeah, so I was like, at a convention like this, I bet Sunday is actually useful when you can just run around and haggle with people who don't want to take home their unsold board games.
I don't know, man, because it's different when it's like, you got to think like the price per volume. Some of those board games are, like $100 for a rectangle.
I'm not saying for free, but you offer them, $60.
Yeah, but it's different when it's like, here's some of like a big plastic container for $6. Well, I'll give you $1.
Yeah. But I bet if you ran around booths on the last day, especially at smaller joints where you're like, I will buy more than it costs you to make this, and you don't have to take it back home with your head held in shame.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so the first day we got there, and I have a very funny thing that has nothing to do with Warhammer. So Disney is making a card game?
I do know, yeah.
Gen Con was the first official selling of said card game this year.
That must have been absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Because, I've heard some, like, local game stores are only getting, like, a tenth, if that, of the product that they wanted to get.
Yeah, and specifically I was told, like, if you can get the product to Europe, you'll be a millionaire because they're afraid they won't get any until next year.
Yeah. I can only, if this was, like, the first, like, official, Jesus Christ, I must have been, you stayed away, I'm assuming.
So, that's the fun. See the pictures of this sea of people?
Yeah.
They put it right in front of the doors.
Oh, God.
In the children's section.
Oh, no.
So, would you like to guess what occurred at 10 a.m. on the dot?
I mean, I'm only assuming that no child actually died because I haven't seen any headlines, but...
To my knowledge, nobody died, but several people were hospitalized.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, so when we got there, there was a line like that was 6 miles long. I'm like, please tell me this isn't the line to get in, and it's not like at Youmacon where everyone stands in a single file line to get into a gigantic area. And thankfully, no. But I asked, and I was like, what's this line for? And they're like, Garaka or something that I couldn't really make out. And I was like, who the fuck is that?
Who the fuck is that? And why are they so popular?
And I was like, whatever. So I went over to my brother and my wife, and they were like, what's that line for? I'm like, Garaka or something? And my brother's like, Lorcana? And I was like, sure, what's that? He's like, that's the name of Disney's game. And I was like, oh no. And he's like, yeah, today's the first day it's ever being sold. And I was like, oh no.
Wow.
So, about 30 minutes before the doors opened, some GenCon employees walked over the line that had formed unofficially and said, there is no line for Lorcana. And so that line became part of the swarm and was now at the back and feeling irate that they were at the back of the swarm.
Because they queued. Oh, that's fucking...
Yeah, so I swam away from that mess and learned later that multiple people got injured trying to get a hold of Lorcana, and it sold out in like 0.3 seconds. And then they stocked so that you could only sell so much on each day.
Yeah.
The line for Friday morning started at 6 p.m. on Thursday night. You had to stay outside overnight, and it was like 100 degrees.
Oh...
Disney fans are fucking mental.
It's not just Disney fans, okay?
Okay, Disney fans and MTG finance people.
Yeah, there's a lot more than just Disney fans trying to do that. I mean, that sucks, though, because I remember when it was originally announced, I was like, that would be cool. I hope it's good.
I don't know, man.
It sounds like a fucking cluster, so...
So yeah, that was Thursday's entertainment, but it had nothing to do with 40K or anything.
Definitely would have been interesting if you had like a balcony view of the chaos as the doors opened.
So there was a balcony, and I think you can see it in one of my pictures.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I kind of wish I was up there.
I definitely think that was the way to go.
Yeah, so Thursday I got to play some other tabletop games I was interested in, some board games that I missed out on over the COVID period.
Yeah. Anything of note?
Yes, I really liked Goblin Vaults, which is by the company that makes Role Player, and I ended up buying it for like $35 or something with a playmat.
I mean, is it anything like Role Player?
All of their games are now set in the Role Player world. Like, they're making that their overarching theme, so it's all the same races and everything.
Okay.
But the gameplay is nothing like it. Well, I guess there's still a bidding mechanic in that one. But, like, all their games are unique. They're just, they give them all, here is the theme of the games. They'll all be within this world, and they are different aspects of it.
No, that's cool. I mean, we still need to play the expansion, too.
There's multiple now. We have them all. Didn't play them because of COVID.
We played one of the expansions.
Yeah, we played the very first one. I forget. It's the one that actually let you fight mobs at the end.
And that was cool, but it felt like it was not quite finished.
Yeah, there are more expansions now. And then you can play like one big mega game.
Yeah, but I mean, Goblin Vaults sounds like it could be fun.
It was a very fun, very light game. 20 minutes, once you know the rules type thing.
Okay.
So I enjoyed it. But I also walked around. I got to see a whole bunch of stuff that GW put up, like crazy displays. They had a huge selling area.
Yeah.
They had like a bunch of stuff on display, like a life-size bolter that's like, you know, bigger than your entire chest. A thunder hammer that they have up there. They had a huge statue of a Terminator that I think is actually beyond normal scale, and an intercessor that I believe is beyond normal scale.
Oh, I see the hammer now. Fuck, dude, that's cool.
Yeah, and then they just had a bunch of stuff for sale, including some stuff I haven't seen before. Like, they were selling objective markers for the first time I've ever seen GW sell those. They made one for every chapter, Eric.
There's so many of them.
Harlequins actually have one, which made me joke that, oh, these must have been for 9th edition.
Yeah, they probably were.
But you should not buy GW's objective markers and instead hold on for a little bit longer for an announcement.
Wow. Real fucking subtle. I mean, those are nice, though. Like,
yeah, they look fine. They look like every other objective marker, but they get to use GW's IPs on them.
The helmets look cool, too.
Yeah, they had the helmets up on top, like the Horus Heresy helmets. They're looking sweet. I guess they're not Horus. Well, they're a mix. Yeah, I guess they are all Horus Heresy era. Okay, yeah.
I don't know about that or either way, but I think they look cool.
But yeah, they had a bunch of stuff. And then they also had a huge play area for 40K and for all other GW games, right?
Yeah.
Including a 25-foot long boarding actions board for you to try to like survive the Space Hulk, which I did not get to play. I actually thought this terrain was pretty well speed painted looking at it. I'm pretty sure this is event terrain because of the other organized play stuff that was nearby. And I gotta say, I like the paint job for how simple it is.
I like it for what it's done.
It's enough to get the job done. It's not like the best artistic job you'll ever see, but that's not the point. It's to hammer out bulk terrain very quickly.
And this giant table is very impressive.
Yes, the quantity has a quality all its own.
Yeah, and like the paint style of it works well on this quantity. It just kind of all flows of like you're in the red section. Oh, we've upgraded into the green section. Now we're to the orange section.
Then you know how they sell those like action figures?
Yes.
They made an oversized version that was also like 30 something feet long. That was like super large terrain pieces. And instead of using models, you used the action figures.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, that makes more sense now. I was like, I don't know what is happening here.
It looked cool. I saw a couple people playing it at one point, but I didn't have the guts to go try to like figure out how to get a ticket to do it.
Lame.
I had a full enough weekend, so...
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that the massive 25-foot table gauntlet, that sounds very fun, but also, like, you're never going to do that anywhere else kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing, is, like, these are the plus sides to Gen Con and stuff, where, like, this is the thing that interests you when you go to a convention that has your war game, not just randomly playing the game like you could do at home.
Which, I mean, that's fun, too.
That's
just cool.
Like, yeah, big events are fun for being a big event, but the things you're never going to get a chance to do again in your life.
Yeah, and this is definitely one that, like, I mean, maybe some LGS is able to do something like this, but it's impressive, so very cool.
Yeah, and then they just had a ton of play areas set up. I didn't get too many pictures. You can see it in the background of some of the shots, but I tried not to, like, you know, walk over while people are trying to play a tournament and take a picture of all their terrain. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if it was AOS, they'd definitely be cool with it.
Yeah, there was AOS tables, there was 40K tables, there was big dedicated building and painting areas where they, I guess, for free supplied you with a ton of GW paints. I have no idea how that worked, but I saw a bunch of people over there.
There's usually some type of like painting corner, especially for like new, like, hey.
Oh, every paint vendor on Earth was there in some capacity, except for I think like I didn't see Vallejo anywhere.
I was going to say, was Vallejo there?
Okay, so all of the ones that have big markets in the U.S. were there.
That would actually go to a convention in the U.S. were there? Yeah. I had no expectation of Vallejo being there, so I was going to call that one out specifically.
No, and a bunch of them had, like, demo paint area things set up for people to, like, slap paint on models and stuff, which I think was pretty clever, especially for, like, getting people into the game from the hobby end of things, because there may be people who have just, you know, have all these unpainted D&D models at home that they've never used. I could see that being a big draw from that end of Gen Con too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's another one of those, like, that's a big benefit of these types of conventions, is like those booths are kind of geared for that.
Yeah. And while I'll give GW a ton of props for their section, I walked over to the Star Wars Legion area.
So this is what that is.
Look at that amazing terrain on display at those tables.
I was gonna say, this there's a noticeable quality difference.
Yeah. So the GW stuff is quite obviously organized play stuff. It's all speed painted. It's not like the stuff you see in promo shots.
It's also like I'm assuming that the size was different in scale.
I actually think they're the exact same scale game.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the Star Wars terrain blew me away. I don't know, like, I've never looked it up to see if it's like GW where it's $100 for, you know, one piece of terrain, but I was very impressed with both the terrain and the paint jobs they had on it.
Doesn't look that expensive. But I don't know if this is like their actual legit Star Wars.
I don't know the details of Star Wars stuff. I'd have to ask my coworker who does it all. But they had a lot of tables too, and the terrain definitely drew me over there. So I assume for Star Wars nerds, it must have been nutworthy, because I don't even know what these places are.
It does look cool, and it's something that, I mean, there's enough overlap that like you could use these types of terrain for other things. So maybe something to look into.
Yeah. I think the last like noteworthy thing to cover on day one before we move on, I went over to the Monument Hobbies booth and they were selling 2 new artist series paint sets like they did for John and Vince.
Oh, yeah.
So now they've got 2 new ones for Ben Comets and Matt Sexwish, and I bought them immediately. And once again, I have to say, if you're out there, Monument Hobbies, please get us a sponsorship so I can show you out properly.
Wow.
So I'm excited to try out my new paints, but that was the only thing on day one that was like remotely 40K related, other than checking out their booth.
That's fair. I would have been disappointed if you went to a convention that had Warhammer stuff and didn't buy paint.
Yeah, so then day 2, after having my suspicious energy drink.
I've got to find some.
I had 2 of them, and they were honestly...
In the same day?
No.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, man, you are playing with fire. Your heart is not ready for that.
So, Ghost Energy Warhead Sour Green Apple is Brad certified.
Yeah.
I got it kind of as a gag, and then it was so good, that I went back and got a second one to have later.
Jeez. I mean, I assume that it's very much like what you expect. Like, it's not a pleasant experience when you're looking for an energy drink that's Warheads flavored.
No, it was, it kicks your ass.
Yeah.
It's not a fun experience, but afterwards you're like, that was pretty good.
I'm ready for another one, Doc.
So after that, this was the first day where I actually got to play some games. And first up was my brother and I paid to enter you pay, I think it's $64 a person, and they give you a team for Blood Bowl. And then you play a tutorial Blood Bowl match, like at an event thing with the GW guy walking you all through it. And then you just keep your models at the end.
Nice.
It was really fun. I really liked Blood Bowl.
I mean, I've not played it, but rarely heard bad things about it.
I have only played one other sport board game, and don't quiz me on the name. I can't remember, but it was like Blood Bowl, where it was like a what if football was bloody?
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
I mean, the only experience I have with that is a StarCraft Brood War map that was SCV football.
Yeah.
That was super, super fun.
Very much like it.
I played a lot of that.
So it was very fun. My brother got Skaven and I got High Elves.
What?
Because it's closed box. You open it and you find out what you're playing.
Oh, you got fucked on that one.
I did. He made fun of me all weekend for the things I was pulling.
Oh, god damn, that's brutal.
Yeah, so very fun to the point where we immediately were like, all right, we gotta talk to our LGS about buying the core set thing, because that one comes with humans versus orcs.
Okay, yeah.
And we're like, then we'll have the whole play field thing and the exclusive dice you need, because it uses weird dice and all that stuff. Also, GW dice are so loaded. We don't have GW dice in our playgroup, but I always hear that fact. Yeah, this weekend kind of reminded me of that meme.
Yeah.
We played Blood Bowl, and in the 2 hours and some change or whatever that we were there playing, my brother didn't roll less than an 8 on 2 of those dice that you had to use.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on 2d6, he could not roll less than an 8 if he tried.
Wow. I need those for my psychic tests.
And
wait, those don't happen anymore.
And they were red, and all I could think of was the Eldar player flushing them meme. And I was like, oh my god, GW is finally making dice for Eldar players.
Oh.
So, yeah, very funny weekend as far as dice rolls went. But it was a really fun game. So Blood Bowl is set up a lot like football. You do kickoffs and you have to pass the ball and all that stuff. But it's played as a British person would understand football.
Right. I was going to say it's like football, but not.
Yeah, you don't have plays. It's
no.
The kickoff occurs and then the game is played like soccer, where there's never a pause.
There's this weird rugby kind of thing going on. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. So
ref, what the fuck was this?
It was very fun, though, because, you've got your team and your opponent's team. You have, X amount to spend on your team, apparently, is how they do it. It's every unit has a cost to hire it onto the team.
Okay.
That's how they flavor it. It's you're paying for them. So you could get a better player for more cost, just more points for a better unit.
Right.
And then you would have to cheapen in other areas, because you still have to have, I think you have to have 12 people, ? You have to have at least 11. All of them had 12, and they made it sound like you're supposed to have 12. I don't know if that's actually a rule, if I have to like dig out the whole core rulebook and read that.
Sure.
But like 11 or 12 people will have to be afforded on your team.
Best defense is a good offense. All in, man.
I tried that. It did not go well for me. I'm pretty sure at the end of turn 2, I had 3 or 4 dead elves out of 11.
Oh, Jesus.
By the time we called it quits, because it was very obvious I could not come back, he had killed, I think, 5 elves. As it turns out, I'm very good at rolling snake eyes.
Oh, wonderful.
So you roll like special dice with like whammy symbols and stuff, right? Instead of like 1 through 6.
Yeah. It's what happens on the play kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you've got actual D6 to determine like, you know, you have to roll better than an 8 to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a D16.
Oh.
Which I'm like, I guess that's one way to make sure people buy your official product when you have a D that like doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's also a thing. But it was pretty fun. We got to play with, I know every boomer out there is screaming for joy because we got to play with scatter marker thing, scatter dice.
Oh.
Because that's how the football fumbles, or the blood ball, I guess. I don't know what they call it.
The sports ball thing.
The sports ball. That's how the sports ball go.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. You had to like use it to do the kickoff. Then you used it anytime someone fumbled it or whatever. It was very cool. You do turnovers. There's a halftime. Unfortunately, there's no halftime show.
Oof. I mean, you could always make a halftime show. Come on, Brad.
Just get some Skaven out there and dance them around in center. Dallas is playing, so the Drukhari witches come out, even though it's supposed to be set in Old World.
Let's get some of the Slanesh and Drukhari and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so very fun game. Very interesting to play football in a fantasy setting. I would absolutely recommend this as just a game. You don't have to give a crap about Warhammer.
Okay.
It was incredibly fun.
Very cool. How about the actual models themselves?
They were fine. They're all just primed black. I can't really see the details on them. I'd have to just go on like the GW web store and look. I know there are some famously hideous models because Blood Bowl is A, Forge World, and B, very old.
That's kind of why I was asking, is I was like, I feel like it's probably not great.
No, and as my brother pointed out the second we walked away, I've seen some pretty cool 3D prints that were Blood Bowl based.
That's very true.
So I'm sure we would have our own solutions to ugly models as always.
Yeah.
But I have heard mixed things about Blood Bowl's looks for an official model standpoint. Because you have to remember, this is like, I like Seraphon. I'm pretty sure those Lizardmen units are as old as the actual Lizardmen that were just the ugliest things.
Right. Yeah. Which there can be some fun in that, but
I'd prefer my models look good when I play my game.
Especially because, like, we have good models.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 3D printing, because you don't need that many models, like you said.
No, I think probably a full roster would be like probably 30 models if I had to guess, just so you could have all your options to, build whatever you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super cool. Highly, highly recommend because it's nothing like Warhammer. It being so different was the fun. I guess technically there was essentially a strength toughness check. So at its core, it had some Warhammer stuff, but
yeah, but
it was a very fun, different way to play. And then we moved on to Warcry, which you will notice a suspicious missing amount of pictures if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, I was like scrolling down these pictures that you've got here. Cool.
You can definitely tell which game I liked the most because I forgot to take out my phone. So we played Warcry on Friday afternoon. It was really fun, and I definitely see the argument of people who say it's Games Workshop's best game. I don't think that's true. I think it's a more complicated answer than that, but I get the sentiment.
I mean, they've got some of the coolest models.
Well, okay, so yes, you're using AOS models, so therefore you're using the coolest models. And Warcry, like with Kill Team, has models that are made for it and then backfed into AOS.
It's like AOS, but the step beyond kind of thing, because there's some really, really cool shit.
Where you can design like hyper-specific, I only have to make 10 models in this faction type deal.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the game, but like, those models.
So in this one, my brother he thought they were slaves to darkness. I had to correct him because it's actually the guys who worship Be'lakor, because it's slaves to the first prince or something, or servants of the first prince, which is Be'lakor.
Okay.
So he pulled them, and then I pulled just the most boring savage dudes. I pulled D&D barbarians, the team. And my brother enjoyed that joke because he knows my hatred of the simpleton classes and the I don't like playing orc with two-handed sword D&D character.
So I'm trying to think, who is that?
The Dark Oath Savagers.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got the most basic bitch looking naked dudes. Conan the Barbarian, just the worst.
That's like exactly what you don't like.
I know. The guy next to me pulled the Corvus Cabal, and I was like, fuck, I'm so jelly.
That is, yeah. I mean, there's so many better options. At least, I mean, for you specifically.
Yeah. Specifically, in my taste, it's like the worst thing I could have gotten. But I'm sure there are people who think this is the coolest stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, there absolutely is.
Yeah, so my brother got the Chaos Legionaries looking at them, but when we looked at the name of the faction on the card, I think it said something of the First Prince. But yeah, I guess they're the Chaos Legionaries, which is also a Warcry team. So we played those against each other.
Yeah, the Chaos Legionnaires are pretty cool again.
So they had us play, made it look like you were going to play a random Tempest of War style card setup, right? Where you flip them over. And that is how you play Warcry, apparently. But they were all statically chosen for us, and it was literally the open play, kill the warlord, simplest thing you've ever seen. And that was the downside to the Warcry tutorial, was we were like, this game feels great mechanically. We love this for a skirmish game. We were both very much enjoying how things were interacting. We were talking through, at a mechanical level, what we were liking with how it was working. But the match was such a boring, literally just kill the other guy's boss. Run your units at theirs and try to keep yours away from theirs.
That seems honestly really boring, especially at the scale, the number of models and that kind of stuff.
It really sucks because we had 2 hours for the tutorial, and
okay,
we were done in 40 minutes because he just sniped my warlord. Part of it was me misjudging how far he was able to move, but then it was literally him being all right, I'm blowing this ability and then rolling and hey look, pair of sixes, how many life does your guy have? I'm like, not that many. So...
He doesn't have any armor, see?
That was a running thing with my army, as we found out. His guys are all fully equipped in armor.
Yeah.
My guys are all butt-ass naked. Yeah, it showed in the stat lines.
That's funny.
Where it's swinging around the same damage profiles, and my guys have half the wounds of his.
But the muscles.
Yeah, but it was a very fun game. I would very much enjoy playing this as a refresher, do something else for the week if you don't want to play a big game.
I was gonna ask, based on how long it took you to play that, how long would an actual Warcry game?
If both players knew the rules, I'm going to bet most games are under an hour.
Honestly, that's a big selling point.
That gets into the Warcry versus Kill Team thing, which we'll do after I talk about our Kill Team experience.
Okay.
So again, Warcry, absolutely fantastic skirmish game. I think it accomplishes its goal perfectly there. The next day, after we had some delicious ramen, it was good. It wasn't Johnny Noodle King good, but we walked into this joint, sat down and ate, which I've never done at Johnny Noodle King.
I've done it once, but that was at the middle of a day on a Wednesday.
Yeah, when you're just down in Detroit and you're like, oh, I'm going to try it.
Yeah, I was there for not a convention or anything like that. And I was like, I guess this isn't always packed.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Warhammer. So we came back on Saturday, and our last Warhammer official game was Kill Team.
So, I mean, on that, you have some preconceived biases on Kill Team.
I don't. So here's the thing. A lot of people assume I hate Kill Team because it's become a meme.
No, but you still have, it's not 40K.
Correct. Kill Team is not 40K, which we can get into. Warcry is not AOS. Same thing. Absolutely the same deal on both ends.
Oh, okay. I actually did think that Warcry was closer.
No, it is not AOS minus. In fact, Warcry was specifically different because Warcry, when it started out, was only Chaos factions. It's only very recently they said, fuck it, you can play your Stormcast in here.
We have to make somebody want to play those fucking models.
So Warcry was specifically not meant to be AOS Lite, which Kill Team always advertises itself as for 40k.
Okay.
And we were next to a very nice gentleman when we were playing Kill Team, who, God, I hope he never finds out that that was me next to my brother.
Oh, yeah?
But we were next to a guy who I had a very interesting debate with about Kill Team and Warcry and their places and uses in getting into 40k and getting newcomers into it, because he hosts their Kill Team tournaments back home.
Oh, okay.
So he had a lot of Kill Team experience. So like we were asking questions and stuff to him because it's easier than waiting around for the guy to come back to give you answers when he's got 8 tables full of newbies.
Right.
So first of all, for Kill Team, I watch a lot of Mountainside Tabletop, who makes a lot of Kill Team content and a little bit of Warcry content, but mostly Kill Team.
Okay.
I like watching them. I do not hate Kill Team. Calm yourselves before I say this next part. I did not have a very good time at our Kill Team one.
All right, then. I'm glad you checked the P.O. box.
So, for Kill Team, this was definitely, of the events we did, it was the worst event. Just quality-wise, if that makes sense.
Is that because of Kill Team, or is that because of how it was run?
Both.
Okay.
And it was not the fault of the GW employee there who was doing the teaching. He was screwed.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is like you can have a good game give a bad experience.
Yes.
Just because of the, lack of support, the lack of people helping out, the lack of resources in general.
We were very understanding of what was occurring, but it was not fun.
Right, yeah, that sucks.
I also enjoyed that the Kill Team, everyone makes the fun of the new rules come with the circle, square, triangle bullshit, right? Instead of saying 2 inches, 3 inches like a normal human would. And all the symbols are wrong and should be in different spots. Everyone has done those jokes. We've all done them. We don't need to do them. But I appreciated that the GW employee, who I will remain anonymous in case this gets him in trouble, dropped that shit. It was like 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and then he started talking in inches like a normal human would until
nobody got time for that.
Instead of telling you to look at, spin the square in a circle to figure out the area of where you need to be to do a thing.
Yeah. I don't hate that they did it that way because it's kind of unique, but like when you're actually playing...
No, it's stupid. It was really bad in practice. It was bad.
To actually play the game, it's just needlessly logistics for no reason.
Of the games we played, when my brother and I were talking about them while playing, Kill Team is the one we both had so many more, why was this done this way? This rule seems bad. Like, you were coming into more issues than you were with the other 2 games we played.
It's also one of those, this issue's been solved in another game that that's in the same area. Like, just go talk to the other team.
To cap this off, we were basically told at the beginning of our 2-hour thing, like, because Kill Team is so heavy, we're not touching CP, you don't have access to any of your rules, you are playing like data sheets.
What?
And I understood it by the end.
Yeah?
The GW guy did the best he could with what he was working with.
Oof.
Like, I know certain Kill Team people will be like, you were only playing half the game. And it's like, that's a fucking problem. It's a skirmish game, and it takes as long as 40k.
Yeah.
At which point, why the fuck aren't I playing 40k?
Honestly, one of the things that's kind of ruined Kill Team for me was boarding action, when it was like showed proper support and had good potential.
Those first games we played of it, before we all got depressed later on.
When they like specifically ruined it.
Yeah, when we were playing it at the end of 9th, boarding action was better Kill Team. I will say this as someone who played a lot of boarding action and now understands Kill Team.
And there was like more potential for that to be like the skirmish mode of 40k.
Yes, it is a better jumping on point. You learn more of 40k's rules. If you tried to learn Kill Team and then move to 40k, you would have a lot of unlearning to do, where things you would have to like go backwards in your knowledge and not learn things the wrong way.
Yeah. It is a separate game.
Again, separate game, just like with Warcry and AOS. I'm aware this problem exists for both of the skirmish games versus their full army game equivalents.
Yeah.
But that is why I always argue that Kill Team is not the way to get into 40k. It's a terrible way to get into 40k. Do combat patrol or boarding action. If boarding action was still supported, it might be good.
God. At some point, I want to do like I want to fix boarding action.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the next fun part. We're not done with me ripping into what was going on with this Kill Team Team game.
Oh, there's more.
It's unfortunate. Again, not the fault of the guy running the game.
Oh yeah, what'd you play?
Yeah, this is where we get into the problem.
Oh no. 0 for 3?
We were the first ones to open our boxes. We showed up first, sat down, and they were like, oh, the top 2 boxes are the same. Hang on, we'll close this one, and we'll give you the next box. So my brother opened the Space Marines from the box that didn't get swapped, and he was like, of fucking course. And it's just Assault Intercessors. And then I opened up my replacement box, and it was 10 Cadians. This is where we get into the problem for people who know.
I was wondering what. Oh.
For people who know Kill Team, what I just said should be an uh-oh. We were informed by the guy next to us, who was, again, very helpful and very knowledgeable. Wait a second, you're missing 4 Cadians, because it's 14 Cadians to play Kill Team. So we asked the GW employee, hey, should I go over and tell them that it got screwed up? And he's like, oh no, we're playing this as 1 box, 1 army. So whatever you have is what you have to deal with. And I was like, cool. And he's like, sorry, I can't change that. It's how they want to run the event. They didn't want to have to build correct loadouts for every team for the event, because you would have to buy like 2 different Cadian boxes. What makes up a Kill Team is not what's in a GW box.
I did not know that.
Yes.
I knew that like there was like customization that you could do afterwards is what I thought. It was just like swap out.
There is customization in addition, which could make for illegal boxes, but that's a normal problem I don't have an issue with.
Yeah, that's still not acceptable in my opinion, but
a box of Cadians is not a Kill Team.
That's insane.
So before you get into the, well, Kill Team's cheaper than 40k, when you have to buy 2 boxes of Cadians, you could just have bought the fucking Combat Patrol and played Combat Patrol.
Yeah. Oh, that I actually really did not know that you couldn't just, a box wasn't a playable, balanced play kind of thing.
And apparently my brother was supposed to play with 6 intercessors or something with how they rebalance Kill Team, I guess. I don't know. At one point they changed, how many are in a Kill Team.
Okay.
There was accidentally 6 in his box. And the guy was like, oh, they gave him the correct number though. And the guy was like, he's not supposed to have 6. There's only 5 per box. So we're going to have a problem later today. Because there's probably a box with 4. So he's like, I'm not going to take away your bonus Space Marine. Enjoy your 6th Space Marine, but try to only play with 5 because this is going to be a stomp fight. And it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's all that can be said about that.
So it was not a very fun, enjoyable experience. Again, I can separate the parts of that is the game design and the parts of that is the situation.
Yeah.
But I already knew Kill Team pretty well because I, again, have watched a lot of battle reports of it. I actually very much like Thousand Suns and Kill Team. I'd argue it's more Thousand Suns than Thousand Suns and 10th, but that's a whole discussion on Psychic.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
But yeah, my problem with Kill Team versus Warcry, and the guy who was helping us had a really good discussion with me about it at the end, where we were trying to go with the pros and cons, and he was pointing out Warcry is a very light game that you can't get too into. It's not like Kill Team where it could be your game, where like there are people who exclusively play Kill Team and it's a very deep system for them. My argument is it's a skirmish game. I don't want a deep, heavy game like 40k. I'd rather play 40k at that point.
Yes.
And that's why I prefer Warcry, because I believe Warcry does the skirmish game better of I want a light experience.
I see what you're saying. And I mean, that's why I was saying like an hour to actually play the game as a, rough estimate is a bonus. Like that's a strong selling point for what you're trying to do.
And again, it's possible you can get Kill Team down to an hour once you know your rules, but there is a lot more rules. Everyone has like multiple guns and multiple melee profiles. There are more dice rolls. Like it's more like playing 40k when you do a shooting, fighting, anything like that is way more involved than in Warcry. There was like activation stuff you had to worry about. We didn't even get into the stuff with using CP, which I was already aware of. So I know there's a whole part of the game we were ignoring. There's lots of reasons I think I would go with Warcry over Kill Team there.
Okay.
And again, it's a preference thing. I don't want people being like, you just had a bad first experience. It's like, I kind of knew going in. It's not my first time ever seeing Kill Team.
To be fair, it's one of those, like, we play 40k. I would be more interested in playing something different, be it Warcry or Blood Bowl.
Yes, absolutely. That's how I kind of felt too once we played them all. I was like, if I was trying to take a break from playing 10th, which we've been trying to play a lot of so we would have info for the show, but like, man, was it more fun to play Blood Bowl and Warcry and try something totally new and different than play 40k but small and different rules. I think another thing that Kill Team had a minor gripe from me for is not Kill Team's fault per se, which is it's based on 9th edition.
Right.
Which sounds like a non-issue, but like it had bloat and issues in it that I'm like, we just solved these. Like you had to deal with light and heavy cover. You had to deal with other issues where I was like,
It's been slimmed down and kind of streamlined a bit more, even in like a larger game. So
that's where I was like, Warcry proved you in a skirmish game can cut out some of this bloat. 40k as a full-size 40k universe game proved you can cut out some of this bloat.
Yeah.
So you've got the lighter game that's got clunkier rules interactions you're trying to measure and check.
Honestly, I think a large part of why I'm personally not that interested in Kill Team is like it feels like I'd rather play an actual war game, like a World War II, World War One, that type of thing, because it would be more skirmish style. But at the same time, I don't know if I really want that type of complexity for the skirmishes.
Now, here is a good argument for Kill Team that I will end on for a high note for Kill Team's defense. The guy who was helping us brought up a great point I don't have a counter to. It is wonderful for people who love all aspects of 40k and don't want to spend $300,000 collecting every army to 10,000 points or whatever. If you just want to, own some Cadians, own a couple Space Marines, own a few Drukhari.
2 boxes of each one, and you've got a wide range of options.
Yeah, until we get into the weird stuff where like Necrons is technically like 4 boxes to make 1 kill team.
Oh.
This is where we get into the weird stuff.
That's still less than trying to field a full 2K army.
Yes, it has the dedicated ones, like you can get the special Necron kill team that is a kill team box now. If you focused on the kill team releases instead of trying to make your 40k armies work.
I do really like a lot of the like special kill team ones. They look cool.
If you focused on those, then it would be a very light, nice way to enjoy 40k as a universe where you like the lore, you like playing the models and stuff, but you don't want to have shelves of models. I get that.
Yeah.
It's a very valid way to want to play these games. Not how I do it at all, but it's a very valid way.
I could see that making a lot of sense, especially for like local stores kind of thing, where it's like you can come in and they have an army of, each faction essentially. And it's not, like you said, shelves on shelves on shelves. So was that basically the end of your adventure?
No. There was one final thing.
Ooh.
I got to go play 3 hours of... I actually feel a little guilty admitting that because I know it was pretty busy over there. Of OwlCat's new CRPG Rogue Trader, which is like the Pathfinder games they've been releasing, but now it's in the 40k universe, and you play as a up-and-coming Rogue Trader.
There's been some hype on that recently.
Yeah, I know Bricky was talking on Twitter about playing a beta of it and loving it.
I don't think there's a release date out yet, but it's soon TM or whatever that is.
Well, we'll get to that. So, I was excited to try it. I'm not a fan of CRPGs. It has an uphill battle to win me over. I played a couple. I played Divinity Original Sin. I've played the old Fallout games. I've played the one I can't remember the name of that Obsidian made.
But Divinity is fun.
Divinity was meh. We played it for a few hours, and the most fun I had was you and I getting to play game night, and then getting blown up on that one, first boss where I kicked, a barrel or whatever. That was funny.
And that was fun. That's what I think is fun out of those things.
Sure. There's a few fun moments, but they're not related to being a CRPG, and most of my problems come from them being CRPGs. I am also the guy who doesn't really like tabletop RPGs very much.
So you spent 3 hours playing a CRPG.
I then spent 3 hours playing a CRPG. And as an additional thing, while I was there, I was able to get an interview with Sergey, the community manager who was at GenCon. I didn't know what to ask him, so I had my brother coach me through stuff because he has hundreds of hours in their Pathfinder RPGs. So excuse some of the clumsy questioning of me trying to pretend I know CRPGs and know what I should be asking.
I was fully expecting you to ask dumb things related to like Kenshi, so I can chop off their arms and legs and torture them, right?
I definitely did ragdoll some people in the beginning section of the game.
So
you can do
you
some funny
did
stuff.
figure out how to find the fun parts of CRPGs.
You can find some funny things. But I got to play the game a bunch, and then I got to interview Sergey, which we will put at the end of this episode. Forgive the audio quality. We had my phone, because I was on vacation, at GenCon, so there will be background noise. We can't avoid it, so hopefully it sounds halfway decent, but we'll put that at the end. But before we get to that part, I have to say, as a review of the game, I'm officially excited, and I very much want to get a hold of review copies or just buy it when it comes out if we can't get a hold of them.
Hey, that's failure talk right there. We're successful. We're gonna get a copy.
We would never do it if we couldn't get it for free. We're scum now.
Yeah.
But I do want to get a hold of the game and actually like play through it and do a proper review for good or for bad, however it ends up, because there was a lot of promise, and it's one of the few things that has actually hooked me and made me want to keep going, and I had to stop myself because I'm like, I've been hogging this test computer for 3 hours now. But I have to say, there was some little rough stuff around the edges. It was a beta build, and apparently it's the beta build that they released that Bricky and them all played back in like June. So
let's be honest, it's a CRPG. The release is probably also going to have some rough spots.
yeah.
That's just kind of expected because it's not perfectly scripted. So
Yeah, there were some minor things, but all around, I gotta say, it hooked me, and that's the best review I can give as someone who doesn't typically like these, of the setting was handled well enough to make me look past my normal dislike of it.
that is honestly a selling point enough that I'm interested, because I'm fine with CRPGs, but it doesn't really, like, it doesn't draw me.
Yeah, there's little things like a las cannon shot like it was an auto cannon, and I was like, actually, that should be a laser cannon.
Wow. Nerd.
The stuff I expect at beta. There was nothing hugely wrong other than there was some stuttering that my brother said was more because they were on laptops at the demo area. And I was like, true. And he said the Pathfinder game, he hasn't had too much issues with stuff like that. And I mean, like, it was pretty constant in this. So I would assume it was just the demo PCs were dying by Saturday.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that, like, it can be fixed so long as they have time.
Or it's just not an issue.
Yeah, I don't expect that to be an issue just because of the other games that they've done. But you never know until it comes out, right?
Yeah. So let's end the episode off with my interview. We'll do the audio interview, but before we get to that, I want to break the norm.
Oh, no.
Usually, we do our monthly shout-outs only in the audio episode after the YouTube would roll the credits in our outro that only audio has. However, while I was at Gen Con, right after we released the Q&A episode, we had a few new people join our Patreon.
It was near constant. Honestly, there's a certain part of me that still thinks that this is some type of scam. It's so fucking big brain, I don't understand, because it doesn't seem real.
So let's do our monthly shout out in the main episode for everybody to enjoy, because this is quite the long list of names this month.
Yeah.
So these patrons pay us so much money, we have to shout them out every month. They are Alex Fuja,
Cameron R.,
Curtis,
Danik Tomyan,
Dr. Lace,
Edward Lawrence,
Ethan Gerard,
Finn Smiles,
George McClung, VMD,
Grundle Bundle, IA,
Ian. Why are you people like this? Why can't you have normal names?
that could be a normal name, honestly, Jake I. Vachinio,
Jarrett DiPerna,
Jaden,
Jeff Stumpo,
Joel,
Michael Melcher,
Orthodox Monks,
Fizzled,
Gyarados,
Squareson,
and Trine.
Thank you all so much. And as always, thank you to our producers, Jan Geisy, Michael Sullivan, Robert Teleno, Rudy Mania, and Ryan Walters. All right, now let's hit that interview and then get out of here for the week.
Sounds good.
So let's start with some of the basic stuff. I guess let's introduce ourselves. So I'm Brad here interviewing.
I'm Sergey, also known as Starrock. I'm a community manager for OwlCat Games.
Okay, so I guess to start things off, OwlCat previously worked on 2 games in the Pathfinder series.
Yep.
Why did you guys choose to do 40K this time for a setting instead of any other possible setting?
I think there are multiple reasons. First of all, we have a lot of fans for 40K on our team. It's a very popular universe and we kind of love it ourselves. Also, after working for years on the same setting, you get a bit tired and you need some sort of refreshment before you can continue working on that. So we had that urge in the team to try something else. And also, it's a good change from the traditional fantasy that is Pathfinder. And like a step in a different direction, which is interesting. And also, we know the Warhammer 40K is really popular in the world. It's a good step forward as well, like in terms of how many people already know about it. So that sort of collides together and makes this possible.
So I guess for 40K as a setting versus things like Pathfinder that you did previously, did that give you guys a lot of challenges in like your engine or the general design philosophy of your storylines, or?
Well, it works well. Like we use a similar design philosophy for Rock Trader that we use for the Pathfinder games. It's story driven. It's heavy consequences based. You know, so there is a lot of branching where the story may go differently depending on your choices that you make. So that works pretty well. And as for the atmosphere, the lore and stuff, well, our people, the narrative team, our libraries are 40K as well, and the artists, you know, the style as well. We are big fans of the like the old artists that created this universe. You know, like Blanche.
Yep.
So even some of the artworks, they sort of repeat the style of those old artworks that were there like 30 years ago when the Warhammer 40K was starting.
And you talked about your team being big fans of 40K and stuff. Can you tell us a bit about your team? How many people there are at OwlCat, where you guys are? There we go.
Yeah, sure. We are like a few hundred of people working on multiple projects at the moment. Some, for example, are still in Pathfinder, some on Rock Trader, some elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I think Warhammer team is like 150 or 200 people.
Wow, that's actually large.
Yeah, well, the game is big, so it requires a lot of attention and a lot of manpower to do it. We're also employing the freelancing a bit, so we have like artists that work freelance and we work with them.
Yeah, how does that work? You told me a bit about it before we recorded, but can you tell me about how you guys are actually set up?
Yeah, we're pretty spread out across the whole world. Our main base of operations, so to say, is Cyprus, but people are like scattered across the whole Europe, I think, mostly at least, some in the Asia as well. We have this remote work kind of environment where we're used to it. We've been doing this since COVID, so
Yep.
the transition has happened a while ago and it's working well. There are some offices in select countries, but usually people work from home.
And can you give us a bit of info on like difficulties with trying to adapt specifically 40K? Was there things that needed a lot of extra attention given to them because of like dealing with GW's IP, or things that needed to get run through approval processes, all that type of stuff?
Of course. Well, Games Workshop is they're looking at all the assets, all the stuff we are doing there. It goes through a process of approval, so they are knowing what we are doing. They are keeping their hand on the pulse. So if something like slips in the sense that we either didn't notice something or like there was some lore that we didn't know about, which can happen because the game is really big, they always point at that, and we always quickly try to address that.
So did they have like a lore police on this project that
somewhat,
had
it's good that they're doing it. They're caring about their IP. They want it to feel and look exactly as Warhammer 40K should, and I think the end product should reflect that in the end. So it's been a productive work.
So I know early on when this got announced, there was a lot of people who were excited by the possibility of modding this as a base for custom campaigns or adding in their own custom takes on the universe like they did in Pathfinder. Do you guys still have all that support in for this?
Yeah, actually, we are planning to introduce more mod tools that will be more useful. We are working on that. Like right now, we have a select team from the community that created the mods for Pathfinder, and they are currently testing the mods for Rogue Trader. For example, Naria that created the toy box mod, you may be heard of her. She's already on Rogue Trader and already even released the version of toy box for Rogue Trader.
Awesome.
That's like a mod that allows you to select some modifiers, like spam units and stuff. So it's more like a debug mod of sorts, and the ability to do some options that are not normally available.
So why specifically in the setting did you guys choose to go with Rogue Traders versus any other aspect?
That's an easy question. Rogue Trader is a perfect setting for a CRPG because these guys, being what they are like the frontal explorers, they're stellar merchants, they're like privateers, so they are above many laws and limitations of the Imperium, and at the same time they are still connected to the Imperium in the way that allows you to portray the civilian life in Imperium of Man, because normally in the games about Warhammer 40k you see only war, and here you can also see the politics, the life of the hive cities and all that, the space stations, so you can see how the world lives and breathes this way, and also there is you can choose what to do somewhat.
Sure.
So, that freedom is a rare commodity in the Imperium.
Yeah. So while you're talking about the different places you can explore, how many environments are there in the game in total? Like different planets or space stations?
A lot. I think the number of dozens of them. I think one of the most memorable experiences is going to be Komarak, the city of the Dark Eldar, the Drukhari, as they are called nowadays, where you actually get to explore some parts of it, and that's going to be quite an experience. It's actually even in the beta right now. It's a bit unfinished at this point, but there's a lot more that's going to be there.
And then another core aspect would be the companions themselves that you'll have, because obviously CRPGs are all usually party-based. And I know in your previous games in Pathfinder, you could get all sorts of companions.
Yeah.
What do you have for like a spectrum of companions available in this?
The amount is pretty close to what we had in previous games. We have all sorts of different kinds of companions, starting from a space marine and then in with an Eldar ranger. So you can even have Xenios in your party if you like. They all come from different walks of life. They all represent different layers of society in the Imperium, or not even the Imperium. So we have companions from all walks of life. They represent different layers of society. They represent different views on what is good and what is bad. And also we have a so-called conviction system. It's sort of like an alignment system where you can accumulate points towards some of the directions, so to say, like chaos, for example. And depending on that, some companions may like that or not like that. Some may even leave you or even attack you if things go too far in a certain direction. I think you can guess how that may happen. If you have a Sister of Battles, certainly she's not going to like you if you're going to go chaos.
So that's actually a great question then. In 40k, it's not like a good versus evil morality like in Pathfinder.
It's more gray.
Yeah, you end up with... You would have more Xenos-aligned people who are also anti-chaos, things like that. How does that play into it?
Well, we have like three main paths. One of them like leans towards chaos. The other leans towards the traditional Imperium. And the third one is like benevolent, it's called. It's sort of trying to be like a normal person somewhat, but at the same time you can, for example, have relationship with the Xenos, because you may like not be an orthodox Imperium guy that tries to just make their own way. Sure.
So obviously with Pathfinder, you guys use a lot of the Pathfinder game itself for the base of your system. For 40k, I assume it's not that.
It's actually also close because we're basing the game on the Fantasy Flight Games version of Rogue Trader.
That's what I was just going to ask. Is it based off Rogue Trader then?
Yeah, it's not a one-to-one conversion.
Okay.
It's more inspired. It sort of tries to correct some things that were not probably good enough in the original, or maybe not comfortable enough for a player. For example, we've made the system a bit more persistent, so you would hit more often, but with less random result between the damage spread would be not
reliable.
not so random. Yeah.
Okay, good. So when I was doing the character creation, obviously Sanctioned Psyker was two of the options there.
Yeah.
So Psykers in 40k are different than spellcasters and everything else.
Yeah.
You've got a bad habit of having your head explode, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about how Psykers are treated differently than in Pathfinder when you made any type of mage equivalents?
Yeah, sure. Of course. First of all, that's they have certain story importance in that sense that the Psykers are always like a walking bomb in a way in Warhammer 40k. So there can be some situations where they may come into effect, so where people may react in one or other way to your presence. And as for the game itself, there is a system, so-called the state of the veil between the reality and the warp. The more you're casting, the more thin the veil becomes, and at a certain point, some nefarious effects may manifest.
So there's also, I saw they were Sanctioned Psykers that you could pick between.
Yeah, and you
Can
can
you
also
become-
you cannot become, but you can have an unsanctioned Psyker in your team.
Okay.
She's like your predecessor, Lady Theodora. She had her pocket prophet, that helped her to see the future and escape some trouble. So you sort of inherited her from Lady Theodora, and depending on your wish, you may either leave her with you and try to live with her weird moves or weird words sometimes, or you may do the Imperium stuff. There is such an option there as well. So it's all up to you and all up to the decisions you take.
Oh, so one thing that's not in the demo right now that I was just checking out was the Darkest Hours and Triumphs. What is that system?
It's not yet in the game, but basically it's some elements of your biography that represent you as a character. That may give you some either stats or abilities or maybe some reactions to your background somewhere in the game. So that's sort of like character building.
Okay. And I guess for one final question, for fans of 40k at large, what factions can we expect to see in the final game or not?
Oh yeah, sure. So you have the Imperium, including the Adeptus Mechanicus. You have the Chaos, of course, including the Dark Mechanicus, which are not even currently a playable faction in 40k. So that's going to be interesting for you guys. We have the Eldari, the Drukhari. You could have seen some Necrons in the trailer as well. We have some Genus Stealers deep in the Space Hulks that you get to visit. I think there are some less known races as well. I'm not sure I remember the right name. Maybe not sure about Ragdoll, but maybe. Basically, there are some
more obscure Xenos?
Yeah, long forgotten worlds, where you can meet some interesting stuff. Or some wildlife.
All right, I think that wraps it up for right now. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I guess as a final thing, when can we expect to see the game?
Well, the game does not yet have a release date, but it's pretty deep in development already. We are currently at the phase where we finish processing the feedback from the beta, polishing the game, improving some UI where people pointed out that it wasn't too comfortable, and get into the phase where we fix bugs, polish things, and generally prepare the game for release. So it's pretty soon.
All right, thanks for your time.
You're welcome.